Hello folks, and welcome to a huge week in Tipperary GA, because we've got the Tipperary County Final coming up. Actually, we've loads of them at different levels. We're going to talk about them with Johnny Kelly here and with Gary Toohey from Clubber. Lads, just can't help but start off with the week that is. Like, Johnny, what's it like building up for a county final and trying to prepare your team? You've obviously been there before, so what's it like?
Oh, it's a great occasion for the both clubs involved, and mixture of excitement and I suppose anxiety is the way to say it. But look, it's a great occasion and great for the clubs involved. They're great occasions and one that I have fond memories of, and obviously had a few losses as well, but nonetheless, great day.
And is it one of those things whereby you ever look back at a week and think, okay, because you've been there and won them all right, but are there times like we got this perfectly right, or there's certain things we did wrong?
I should the old adage that when you win, you get everything right, and when you lose, everything is wrong. But there would be certain things you'd look back at. But look, ultimately, usually what happens is the best team wins. You know, sometimes you can get everything right, and you're just not good enough on the day, or something doesn't go to plan. But obviously, you obviously do your best to apply yourself in the correct manner during the week and give it your best of the day. So obviously, as I said before, best teams usually come out on top.
Gary, you've obviously been at the thick of it, at the coalface for all the matches so far this year. What's the buzz like in Tipperary?
I just, everyone I'm talking to, like, it's all obviously what club we're doing and everything, but like even last Sunday in Toom, now doing the Laura Cashel game, the crowd that came into Toom was unbelievable. Just like a county final itself, the stand was packed, the far bank was nearly packed as well. But I think people are, it's like a drug now at this stage. People are just getting their fix. The amount of neutrals that are at the game on Sunday was unbelievable. I met lads, I say, from five or six different clubs. But I just think, especially it was a football weekend last weekend, so people who were missing out on the hurling, again, they needed their fix. So they went to Toom for the semi-final, and I know we'll touch on it, but yeah, the build up, like I'm not playing, but I'm buzzing for this weekend, and I can't wait to get to Nina on Sunday. I'll be watching the game on Sunday and then get into the stadium. I'm doing an intermediate game, and obviously the senior game is on TG Carr. But again, I've butterflies myself. I'm really looking forward to it, and I haven't picked up a hurl now in 2 years, so it's great. It's great buzz.
Johny, what did you make of the two semi-finals? Because we reviewed them last week, and Kiladangan against Toomevara and Thurles in how they saw off Lockmore. Like, that was pretty comprehensive. To be honest, like, you were up against Thurles this year. You played down in Borrisoleigh. You know exactly what they're like. What's it like coming up against Nina of 2023 compared to like 22?
Well, on the two semi-finals, like, I think both were emphatic winners. Like, and up to that point, you would say that they had pretty similar paths to the final. I suppose both teams would have suffered at least one loss, if I'm correct on that. I think Thurles actually to Kiladangan in the group stages. And Kiladangan obviously to Nina in the North Championship, and then to Borrisoleigh obviously. So they've had their ups and downs, but like once both teams got to the semi-final, they were really, they were worthy winners. I think both Lockmore and Toom would agree on that. But look, you mentioned Thurles. Like the Thurles have, of all the clubs in Tipperary, they're probably the one with the most strength and depth. When you see a team that can leave the likes of Paddy Creedon on the sideline, you're saying to yourself, Jesus, like in any other club, like he'd be one of your main players. Like, so it just shows the talent that Thurles have, as have Kiladangan, to be fair to them. Like they've shown great resilience over the last number of years. I mean, they've been in a number of finals. I think it's 4 or 5 on the last 6. And that takes great character to keep coming back there after suffering some defeats. They'll know more than anyone else that they're in a final now, like, so once you're there, it's about getting over the line. But yeah, look, it promised to be a great day, and one that I'm obviously looking forward to seeing as well.
Yeah, and that day, especially in Bursley, like it felt like for a long time they were in control against your Nina team. Then you made a right burst, and then they just seemed very composed sort of team. Am I right in saying they seem like a team that are like, I don't know, they never seem to panic. They're always in control. Other than that game against Kiladangan in the group when Ronan Maher wasn't there, just to me they look like a team that dots their I's and cross the T on everything.
They're very good. Like, there's so many different areas you can hurt you with. Like, I mean, I think Sean Butler that day, like, I think he hit 3 or 4 points right at the that. Like, he was very good all through. But look, at their team that if you push up on Ronan Maher, he sits very deep. Like, and if you push too far off the field, you leave yourself exposed at the back. If you don't, and they'll get out quick ball, he's very accurate. A number of his defenders. As is a number of the other defenders, like, who are really, really confident on the ball and deliver some great ball. They play with great pace. They deliver the ball very accurately, and their forwards are extremely dangerous. I think Darragh Stapleton, another one there that's shooting the lights out inside. So on that day in Borsley, like, we probably tried to sit back a bit and then try to soak it up, but then push forward in the second half and got really close. I suppose it was only a point in it nearly in the 60th minute. We missed the chance to draw a level, and then subsequently just Thurles it blitzed us in for about the last 2-3 minutes. They got 3 points in the trot, but I'd have to say overall, like, they certainly were the better team in the day, and they have lots of firepower and really can hurt teams, and particularly in Thurles, I suppose. They know the place so well, and those wide expanses suit their forwards, and again, they'll take some minding now on the day.
Yeah, is there any matchup or any area, Gary, that you're interested in for this match?
I think it's a broken record at this stage, Shane. It's Ronan. Like, in fairness to both teams, neither team are a one-man team. That's the best thing about Thurles and Kiladangan. But then with Thurles, it's Ronan and sitting back, as Johnny said. Like, he's done so much damage all through the year, and it's just, I'm sure, look, Kiladangan, they know how to win. They know how to get to these games, get to the finals. But I'm sure they'll have someone sitting on Ronan or sitting in front of him, because he's probably this day and age, the 6th role is basically a quarterback role. So, like, he's probably the best 6 in the country at the moment in club and county. So I'm sure Kiladangan will be pushing up in him. Lockmore did it to an extent in the semi-final, and he didn't have as much free ball as he did in the quarter-final. Like, the damage he did against Drum was ridiculous. So I suppose it's who's going to push up on Ronan is the main question, because you can talk about matchups all day, lads, but, like, there's about 10, 12 unbelievable matchups. Like, this is the cream of the crop. The 2 best teams that got to the final. Like, who's going to pick up Billy Seymour? Who's going to pick up Sean Hayes? Paul Flynn just goes about his business, picks off 3 or 4 points every game. Then you're going to the Toom side. So I think if Kiladangan push up on Ronan, they have a right chance. But for me, Thurles. I think Thurles are the best team, I think, in the county at the moment. I think they will win on Sunday, but again, you couldn't write off Kiladangan. They just know how to get these finals. Johnny said it's 5 of the last 6 finals, I think, they're after being in. So no, it's geez, I can't wait for it.
Yeah, Johnny, when people talk about, don't let Ronan Maher win the game and push up on Ronan and all that, like, in one sense you're like, well, of course we'll put someone marking him, but number one, he could beat that man, and number two, you could have someone else sweeping, so you're doubly beat. Can you tell us what you go through as a manager when you're trying to decide about man marking someone else's 6 or whatever? Like, it used to be Paddy and now it's Ronan, but these aren't the only teams that have brilliant 6s that you have to worry about.
No, indeed. Like, on the stage, no question. Like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like, people are always wise after the event. Like, especially when you lose, like, they'll point to whether why didn't you sit back or why didn't you push forward. Look, I agree. He's very influential. Like, and you have to have some way to counteract. Particularly that long delivery he has to the inside forwards. But, like, the counter argument to that is, like, if you push up too far, and I've seen this with Thurles this year. Like, no matter how far you push up, Ronan seems to sit back even further. Like, so they go very deep, and they actually sometimes play 4 across their full back line, so that they actually have an extra defender, not maybe just Ronan even. Like, they have some quality players there, Mikey Purcell, the 2 Mahers, they're all exceptionally good ball players, Dennis Maher. So it's not just Ronan, it's the entire defensive structure that's been built there over the last number of games. And I suppose, yes, push up, But if you don't have some strategy to protect yourself at the back, I mean, Billy McCarthy, Aidan McCormack, all of these guys up front, like they're really going to revel in space. And look, I'm sort of more of a defensively minded person, and I would say safety first, and maybe at some part of the game transition into a different setup so that you're not just leaving it all out there from the start. So I think it'll tactically. Kiladangan will have to be very aware. But having said that, like this is the Kiladangan team that have some serious quality themselves, like in Billy Seymour, Sean Hayes, who I think is due a really good game. Brian Monochney, Joe Gallagher, the two Gallaghers, Alan and Paul Flynn. So there's exceptional talent on both sides. And one, I suppose, now that Kiladangan, as I spoke about their resilience over the last number of years, they've learned. I suppose fear is not the right word to say, but I don't think they fear Thurles anymore. They've shown that they can beat the top teams in Tipperary. So, yes, while Thurles have their way of playing and a very powerful way of playing, so too will Kiladangan. So, yeah, it's intriguing.
And Gary, I know we talk about the experience that Kiladangan have in finals and recently, and they have only won one, whereas Thurles haven't won one since 2017. But Thurles were in a final just a couple of years ago against Lockmore, and they ended up having to play it twice. So most of these lads, very recently, they know what it's like to play in a massive game like this. So I don't think we have to worry about either team coming here and not producing.
No, not at all. Like I think we're saying all year, like these are two stadium teams, and you need to be a stadium team to win a county final. Whatever it is about the Tip Championship, you need to be a stadium team to win a county final. Like these two lads, these two teams, there's enough experience on both teams. They won't phase this, whether there's 5 people in there on Sunday or 5,000 people. They won't be phased either way. There's too much class in both teams. Look, granted, Kiladangan have only won one in 6 years, but they're getting there. So look, I'd rather be there and lose than not be there at all. And this Thurles team, they're pretty well overdue one. But like these lads, they've all done it underage. They've all done it. Most of it done it in the blue and gold jersey. So none of these lads will be phased come Sunday, whether it's matchups or crowds or anything like that. As Johnny said, it's fierce intriguing on Sunday. There's so many battles all over the field. You're looking at Dangan. Like Andy Lachlan had to come into the team during the last 2 games. I know he was away for a while and he played a bit with intermediates. Now he's in. You've lads on the bench there that would make most senior teams in the county. On both sides of teams, it's fierce intriguing always.
Yeah, Johnny, like the last 2 North titles, you've won the finals against Kiladangan. When you're preparing to come up against them, we've already talked about Thurles a bit. What are you preparing for when you're up against Nina or Kiladangan?
Well, a high skill level, obviously, and I would say also on both teams before I talk about Kiladangan, they both have 2 top class goalkeepers. That is so important in the modern game that keepers now really are the quarterbacks of the game, and the speed and the accuracy of their puck outs is key. So both clubs have top class keepers, and particularly when you talk about Kiladangan, Barry Hogan, he would be excellent at finding those medium range puck outs. So that's one thing that you would have to focus on when you're coming up against Kiladangan. I'm not giving away any secrets here, but look, it's something that I would know, and I have great respect for Kiladangan. Was there back in 2013 and 2014, and some great guys in that club. But yeah, overall, Kiladangan like to play through the lines, so you'd like to force Kiladangan to try and go along and stop them getting out of point. They're very patient in their build-up. Thurles will probably be that much quicker, and the speed that Thurles play the ball a little bit more direct, a bit quicker. So yeah, Kiladangan like to play through the lines, and it's something that I would have focused on in the past. But having said that, not easy. I know Nina would have taken Kiladangan in the last 2 North finals. But obviously, injuries and early part of the year, it's good to win those divisional championships. But certainly, Kiladangan have improved since, and obviously got some players back since that North final. I think Willie Connors is another player that has suffered injury over the last year or two, and if he's anyway right at the weekend, he could have a big part to play in this game.
Is it like when we look back at the first game in the county group stages, Kiladangan won 223 to 117, Gary, and it was very comprehensive. Even though Thurles got a great start, I think Aidan McCormack, I should say, had a goal on the board pretty quickly, but Kiladangan absolutely dominated from then on. It must be too simplistic to say Ronan was missing. Sure, that was the difference, because the scoreline's a bit too bloated for it to be down to just one man.
Yeah, that game won't have any bearing on Sunday, lads. In fairness to Thurles, I think it was 6 days after the mid-final. think Kiladangan, Thurles have to win the mid-final and they were out running. Kiladangan were after losing our final to Johnny's Nina. So like Kiladangan were fierce hurt. Thurles have to come in after winning the mid-final. And I suppose maybe it's the subconscious of the Thurles players with Ronan being out and after winning the mid-final, they probably weren't maybe mentally 100% at it, and you don't know it until after the game. But that game, the first game, is no bearing on it, but it does show how dangerous the Dangan can be. And look, they can put it up to Thurles, but no, the first day that'll have no bearing on Sunday. Yeah, you have to take the two perspectives at the time. Thurles a week after winning the mid, Kiladangan a week after losing. Who wants the game more? Subconsciously, the team that probably lost the divisional final wanted more.
Yeah, it's a first final for Paddy Maher, Johnny. Like, if you can remember your first county final, is it one of those things? And it's his first season as well. Is it one of those things that would have phased you?
Oh, Jesus, yeah. Well, look at this man, Pádraig Maher. He has loads of experience on field anyway. Like, so he's been through it all. Like, I mean, I don't think it phases Pádraig at all. And I suppose, in fairness, like we go back to that Kiladangan game in the group stages. It wasn't just Ronan that was missing that day. I think, if I'm correct, like they've made a lot of changes since that game, both personnel-wise. I think 5 or 6 personnel changes, and obviously some positional changes as well. So they would have learned from that game. And I think Gary's right. Like the fact that it was a week after the divisional championship, like it's a tight turnaround for teams that are involved in those divisional finals. Yeah, look, Pádraig Maher as the manager, like he's got great support there, and Paddy McCormack, like that's a very astute sideline, as does Kiladangan. Like, so, look, Pádraig Maher doesn't need any advice from me to know how to run a line at all.
Yeah, and just looking at the last day out against Lockmore, like Aidan McCormack, I think he finished up at 1-6. Just Dara Stapleton, actually, I just want to talk about him again. Like his form all year, I would have always thought of him as a wing forward, midfielder that we would have seen with the Tip under 20s. Like very quickly, Johnny, he looks like a lethal inside forward.
Oh, really good. Yeah, really, really good. Like, I mean, you do have to get your matchups there on this young fella. Like, I mean, it's so important. And again, it goes back to that question: if you push up on the Thurles defence, you open up the space for this for Dara. Like, and you know, he moves around a bit. I remember speaking to some of the guys in Berkeley after that game. Like, I mean, he was the one player that didn't get a handle on it all that day. You know, he seemed to move from the inside line out. They were trying to hand off a number of hand them off to the next player outside. So that's it's a tricky one. Like he's great pace, left-handed hurler that that really accurate, like and a massive find. Like, so yeah, and from good stock as well. There, the Stapletons, like so look, he's an exceptional talent and one with a bright future ahead of him. His movement inside as well. I've just watched him on a couple of occasions. Like I admire that. Like he's a really good inside forward as well, where he moves. He doesn't move too soon. He moves at the right time. So you really need a really quick defender that's touch tight on him to try and it would be damage limitation, like, because he is going to get a certain amount of joy. And look, they have more threats than just Dara. Like,
yeah. And Gary, looking at some of these matchups that we potentially have, like, who picks up Billy McCarthy? Is it James Quigley? Because you're thinking maybe physically that'd be the right matchup. Like, who goes after Conor Stapleton if he goes roaming out the field? Do you want Alan Flynn sitting, or do you tell somebody like, I don't know, Joe? Well, actually, Joe Gallagher could go on Billy McCarthy as well. But some of these matchups, is there anything that jumps off the page to you?
No, because like we're here talking about matchups, and I don't think the Dangan and Thurles will be worried about matchups. Like, Ronan will do his job sitting, and Alan will do his job sitting as well. They won't defray from that unless something happens where they get absolutely opened up. But I can't see that happening. But sure, Billy could be inside full forward. James will pick him up. But sure, when he comes out wing forward, like, who's going to pick him up out there? Do you know, it could be Declan McGrath. So I don't think either team will be too worried about personal matchups. Like, you're talking about Conor Stapleton and as well. Conor's doing some damage this year. Like, I've been very impressed with Conor. I was a bit dubious with him, I suppose, being inside with Tip this year. There's no disrespect for him. I didn't think he had enough, I suppose, on the resume done with the club, but he's been so impressive. He's really leading the line physically, and he's doing a lot of talking off the ball. He's wing forward at one stage. He's back as a third midfielder the next minute. He could be inside corner forward chasing a ball down. He's just it's like the Energizer Bunny. Like, he's just going the whole time. So I don't think matchups we can talk about till the cows come home, and and all the reporters this week in the Tips and Nina Garrett and everything trying to sell their papers. We can talk about matchups all we want, but I don't think either camp will be too worried about one-on-one matchups. I think they've all got enough. The six backs are good enough to mark any six forwards. So, but like Billy as well, Billy's really coming back to where Billy was, I suppose, 2-3 years ago. He's doing a lot of damage. If he's not winning the ball, he's breaking it down. He's picking off 2 or 3 points a game. So, no, I don't think we'll be too worried about the matchups.
Well, I respectfully disagree. Johnny, where do you fall on this?
I think matchups are important, and speaking of Conor, like one of the players that I would have got Nina to focus in on target on the day, like to the point that to try to nullify his impact, like because he's a really good link man there. Obviously, he was wearing number 11, plays midfield, and switched with Stephen Cahill in and out as well. Like so, matchups I think will be key there. I think Joe Gallagher obviously probably physically would match Billy McCarthy, but if Billy McCarthy goes into the full forward line, then probably James would pick him up. David Sweeney, then you'll imagine, look, they'll probably be more or less stay in their positions. I know Alan Flynn likes to sit back. I know the day against Nina in Dalla, he sat back at right back to protect that area in front of Jake. So on that, then, like, when a team sits back, to protect, then obviously you have to shoot from distance. And I think one of the key could be the defining factor of the weekend is who can score the greater range of scores from outfield. I think the ability of both teams to score from distance is key, because if you get Thurles sitting back with Ronan and maybe Kiladangan doing likewise, your middle third becomes hugely important. And obviously getting shots off and accuracy from there will be the key area. Yeah, but look, matchups on both sides. I think both teams will be working on that this week, and it's whoever gets that 95% right, will probably have a one hand on the cup.
Yeah, like
Shane, sorry, just on that. I know I'm saying matchups are important from my point of view, but especially Kiladangan defence, they like keeping their shape. So, Johnny, from a coach point of view, like Deck McGrath's right wing back, and he'll stay there. So, if you're saying Deck is going to pick up Dara Stapleton, Dara might go in left corner forward, he might drop back deep. Like, as a coach, you say, right, you're following him wherever he goes, or are you keeping your shape? That's why I don't think the matchups will be as important on Sunday. I think both defenses and both managers like their players keeping their shape. So as a coach, would you say, right, wherever he goes, you're following him?
It depends on the versatility of the players you have at your disposal, I suppose. Look at it, everyone has different philosophy on coaching and how you set teams up. I think in the modern game, it's important that not just forwards now are versatile, but defenders also. Yes, you can be a cornerback on one day, but you should be comfortable in moving out to a half-back line or indeed area. Obviously, you don't get there'll be certain physical attributes. You can't have certain guys and certain players. But look, if you are to go with that matchup philosophy, I suppose you wouldn't want your players to be able comfortable to play in both the full back line and half back line. So yes, if you were to move with the players, there's always this danger in handoffs. We say if you're handing off a player, and I think again, I go back to Boris Lee Thurles game where Dara Stapleton floated from the half forward line to the half back line. I think it's in that transition, in that handoff, when he was going from Seamus Burke out to, we'll say, Jerry Kelly, that Boris Lee would have probably lost a bit in that, instead of maybe just going with him for that couple of seconds and then reset in afterwards. So look, it's a difficult one to call. Yeah, you do your best, you get your matchups, you put your players in position, and then if there's a move, sometimes I would say to players, just go with that player for now, and then we'll resolve maybe a few minutes later if we have to readjust ourselves. But you have to trust the players in the field, and if you give them an instruction, it's very hard to go in and take that apart again. I suppose it's one of the dilemmas that faces every coach and manager on the day. Like if you issue instruction, you have to be very clear about that and have no real grey areas, I suppose.
And just to go back to your preliminary quarter final against Thurles, so Jake Morris played the inside. He was only back after whatever it was, something like 7 weeks after a broken jaw.
Yeah.
And Ronan was sitting right back on top of him, because I happened to be at the bottom end of the pitch just watching it. But at the same time, like, Jake's got some nice scores, but Paul Maher was stuck to him like SH1T on a blanket. He's been really impressive all year. would you see him picking up? Maybe Brian Mallochny, maybe Dan O'Mara?
Possibly. I'd say Dennis Maher will probably pick up Dan O'Mara. It depends on again how they set up. I suppose the key is like Ronan is the fulcrum of what they do. So they will try to free up Ronan, and he will drop back, and he will let players play outside him. Brian Mallochny is interesting. Yeah, I say both Maher, Stephen and Paul, like they're extremely tight. They're tenacious. So they'll play in the two corners, like, and they'll pick whoever is up there. Like, I mean, when Nina played Thurles, we did think that they may change and bring back some other player to mark Jake. Like, but no, they stuck with Stephen Maher on Jake. And look, Jake was just back, obviously, and maybe was a game too soon for him after the injury. So look, all in all, like, Thurles, as Gary said, they won't be too phased. They'll probably hold their positions as long as they can keep Ronan as free as possible and get him on as much ball, both from puck outs and from opposition deliveries. And I think that was one of the things that led to a bit of Nina's downfall was, some of the deliveries inside to Jake were probably that bit high and overshot. Obviously, Boris Ali is a tighter field, and was something that we didn't factor in, that we wanted to put the ball in front of him. Probably went in a bit higher, maybe over him a few times, and we'd have been disappointed with that. But overall, look, Kiladangan will probably play a different type of game than Nina played that. They will be patient out the field. They'll try and pick holes in the opposition and will walk the ball through the lines quite well. So, yeah, all to play for.
Gary, we've done well to get 26 and a half minutes in without even mentioning Paul Flynn's name, but like he could be. We've seen him before in county finals, especially those ones against Lockmore. What was it, 3 years ago? This man can take it over himself.
Paul, like, you mightn't hear Paul's name in commentary for a half an hour, and all of a sudden you pick off 2 or 3 points in play. But like, even with Paul, like, he could score 5-6 points in play on Sunday and still not have a great game, in the sense that he's probably not in it. But he's just so classy. He knows how to pick off his points. Like, he isn't this dynamic, I suppose, forward where he's dropping deep, he's running, breaking lines through half forward line the whole lot, but he's just a class act. Like, he's a top club hurler, and obviously, look, he was in a Tip there for a couple of years as well. But like, he is like the Roll Rice for him, because again, he doesn't need to be, I suppose, on song to get 4 or 5 points in play, and where some other lads have to burst their backside to get 1 or 2 points in play. But it is, like Johnny said about earlier on with the shooting out from distance. This could be just a complete shootout around the middle third. And if that is the case, you have Billy out there, you have Sean out there, you have Paul Flynn, Alan Flynn, Sir Ty Gallagher, he'll pick the ball up in half forward, half back line, and he once he gets going, you can't stop him. But then the other side of Thurles, then, like against Drum, they had 9 different scores at half time against Drum. 4 to 6 backs had scored, 5 to 6 backs had scored in total against Drum in the quarter final. I think 3 of the backs scored in the semi final. Like, their 2 corner backs could play corner forward. Like, the risks in these lads. That's the one thing I've been so impressed with Thurles this year. It's complete hurling from 1 to 15. The strength and the physicality of this Thurles team. I haven't seen a Thurles team as physical as this in a long time. And then they've pace all over the field as well. So it could be just a complete shootout in the middle third, and we could have. I hope we've 30 points in each side.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Paddy Creedon is going to play as well, because he was obviously left out for whatever reason, and he's probably only played about a total of 15 minutes since. So Paddy Maher's obviously dealt with that situation, and you just wonder for a big final, is your Tipperary panelist going to go back in? But like, some of the other lads who started have done really well, so it's a great position for Paddy to be in. His panelists have responded the right way, but we've danced around it long enough, Johnny. Who's going to win and why?
Look, it's going to be very tight. As I said, I think the game in the group between Kiladangan and Thurles, a 9-point win for Kiladangan. But obviously, Ronan been missing. You can't underestimate that on the day. Like, so that'll be a completely different game from that. Like, as I said, Thurles would have made 5 changes from that, I think, in personnel. And obviously has switched the team around. I think Colin Maloney that day was cornerback. He's out midfield now. Like, so they have made adjustments to their team, and has proved to be good. Kiladangan on the other side, it's been up and down for them. But as I said, the semi-final was really emphatic, really good against Toom. Going that man down didn't faze them. Like, and they're in a good place now. I suppose the game against Holy Cross was the one they'll pipe back to, like, to get over that. I think Holy Cross, had been very good in that game, and it was a game that Kiladangan really had to dig in, and it showed their resilience. So it's tight. I suppose the one thing that I would say is the ability to score from distance. I think that might in a way favour Kiladangan, or favour Thurles, to be honest. But I think they have the shooters from out the field that could to hurt Kiladangan. Okay, having said that, I think there's a big game in Sean Hayes. I think they have been in the finals now. Being in the final doesn't phase Kiladangan anymore. They've, as I said, they've been in 5 now, is it, of the last 6? So it's really tight. Slightly favour Thurles, if I'm being honest, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the other way either and Kiladangan take the day.
Yeah, I think because I've been talking up Thurles to make a go at Munster, I'm going to have to stick with the thought of Thurles just winning here, and I think puck of a ball sort of stuff. Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I've been in Thurles camp as well, but again, just like Johnny, like, that's no disrespect. Like, this could be a point either way. Like, we were so lucky. We have the 2 best teams in the county that have made the final, and Kiladangan have been consistently there for the last 5-6 years. This Thurles team, I think, will be consistent for the next 5 or 6 years as well. Again, I think it will come to complete shootout. Who has the most, I suppose, risky hurlers from a distance? You're looking at the Thurles half back line and even the full back line. All 3 of them can score from distance as well, and they have this year. So for me, I think Thurles by a couple of points. But again, I like we'll talk about the Premier Media, but like, you see what Laura did to Cashel in the first 5-6 minutes. Like, an early blitz like that could turn it for Kiladangan or for Thurles. The game could be over early on. But if everything comes right, it's a nice dry day on Sunday. I think there's no rain, about 10 or 11 degrees. It will be a nice dry day. I think you'll come to a shootout and Thurles by 2 or 3 points. I just think they have more risky hurlers. I suppose deep back. Forwards wise, they're just as good as each other, but I think deep back is where the game's going to be won. So Thurles for me by 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, and I think part of it, I can't help but think of that county semi-final they had in Thurles 2 years ago, and I just felt that Thurles bullied them more or less in that game. Look, could be totally different, but that's partly in my mind as well. We have a relegation final this Sunday or this weekend as well. Also, JK Brackens against Upper Church Stromban, and like 2 seriously quality teams they probably scratched their head why they're in relegation, Johnny, but they would have played in football last weekend. Brackens won the semi-final 114 to 113. So they know each other very well, obviously being mid-rivals as well. So much at stake in this one, Johnny.
Oh, it's huge. I think it just points to the strength of the Tipperary Championship. I hand on heart, like, I mean, I would say that it's one of the best championships in the country at the moment. Like, when you take that Kiladangan were county champions last year, and also in that relegation dogfight this year. Like, so it shows. Look, at all the groups have been really, really competitive. On 1-point wins, and even the 2 finalists next Sunday in the county final. Like they've all said before, they've all suffered at least 1 defeat. Add in the North or the divisional championships, like, and it adds a new dimension or a different dimension than other counties have. So look at it; it's without a doubt, it's one of the better championships in the country, and I think the standard of players within Tipperary is at an all-time high. Like, we talk about some good players there in Holy Cross, Dara Woods. You're talking about Dara McCarthy and Toomey Barra. So we're all seeing new players coming up in Tipperary. For the 2 teams this weekend, it's a horrible position to be in. Someone will be relegated. My own club, Portumna in Galway, they're in a relegation final next weekend, and it's it has its own. I suppose you have to get your head around that. Like, from a club that's been very successful to be where we are now, we've got to find a way to motivate our players and to get that job done next week. And that'll be similar in JK Brackens and also Upper Church. 2 really good teams. I suppose, they know each other so well. There'll be no surprises there. I suppose that again is going to be a very, very tight game, and some that I wouldn't be able to call, to be honest.
Yeah, like the Church weren't that bad at all against Kiladangan the last day out. Kiladangan were very impressive, I'd say, and showed signs of what they might have done this year if they had everyone from day one, Gary.
I don't know about that, Shane. I was very disappointed against Kiladangan. I thought they completely played into Kiladangan's hands. Like, some of the ball inside to Luke Shannon and Paulie Green, they were starved. I mean, starved for periods of time. like I know they like playing the ball through the line as well, but they were taking 5 or 6 puckouts even to make it through the halfway line. So Kilruane were able to regroup, reshape, and by the time they got to the middle of the park, the ball going inside, they were asked to be swamped by the Kilruane defence. I was very disappointed with them against Kilruane, if I'm being honest, but like I did the football game at the weekend, and Jesus, you could feel the tension in the crowd. Like the football game was more than just the senior football semi-final. There was a bit of a psychological edge going into that game because you're playing this shower 6 days later in the relegation final, which is probably even bigger. But like I say about the Church, they were down to 14 men after 25 minutes, and Brackens were 4 points up, and I thought they'd kick on. But Church, they brought it to a point. It was nearly the last kick of the game. They could have got an equalising point in the football. I know it's a different sport and everything, but again, it's basically the same crop of players. I do have an edge over Brackens. I think they've kicked on since the Drum game in the group stage. Now, Drum, again, very disappointing that day in round 3. I know they're through and everything, but I think the Brackens have everyone back. And Paddy Cadell, I've never seen him as fit. He's just absolutely bossing games left, right, and centre in hurling and football. I think the Brackens will have too much flair, I think, this on Saturday for the Church. But look, if the Church are to go down, or whoever goes down, like God help anyone next year Premier Intermediate with either of these teams next year.
Yeah, for sure. And I suppose, Johnny, just before we let you go, because I'm not sure how much you would have seen of the Junior A and Junior C, so I'm not going to put you on the spot about them too much. But like even Laura, like they seem to be like they've been going very, very well. Obviously, a couple of their games were postponed, and they had that great performance last weekend against Cashel Kincormac. They're up against Thurles' second team. Jeez, what a statement that would be from Thurles if they could win both the 2 top tiers in Tipperary.
Amazing. I mean, that's just, as I said, shows the strength and depth that Thurles have in comparison to every other club in Tipperary. A bit like Kiladangan here in Offaly, who are in Offaly, that are in the final. They won the Senior B there last weekend. They're in the Senior A final this weekend in Offaly. So, certain clubs have that drop on other clubs with player base or player population, if you want to say it that way. So, but just our neighbours out the road here, our Laura, like they've been very good this year, like, and they've pushed on. Obviously, they were disappointed a number of years ago to drop back down, but Ken Hogan and Brian Carroll have done great work with them over the last number of years, and it's a big occasion for them. Like, and certainly as their neighbours, I'd love to see Laura, take that
Relegated.
No, not at all. Actually, we have a great relationship with the Laura guys. Probably better relationship with the Laura guys than we have to the neighbour and Galway lads around here. But look, good, honest men out there. Like, and wish them the best of luck at the weekend.
Yeah, Gary, you've seen them plenty. What is it that's making Laura fly so high? And not just Shane Brophy, who isn't here this week, curiously.
Don't talk to me about Brophy, because I was there trying to get the teams before the game on Sunday. I said, any change to that? Any surprises? No, none whatsoever. Fire away. And then in the last 5 minutes, who jogs on home from Australia? Brian Hogan. Absolutely the best kept secret in the country. But again, look, I said Laura from the start of the year. They're my favourites since what they did to Burgess. Absolutely blitzed Burgess in the second half of the North final. You can't beat winning. And Johnny, as a coach, you know it yourself. Like they won every game in the North and County last year, intermediate. They've won every game in the North and County this year, Premier Intermediate. The year they went down, they had 7 or 8 bodies injured and lads abroad. So it was just by pure rotten luck that they actually got relegated that year. The forwards just absolutely lethal. All 6 forwards had scored from play in the first 15 minutes against Cashel on Sunday. All 6. Darragh is wearing 7. He is a wing back, and I'm sure he'll be inside with the Tip 20s this winter as a wing back. But he got 1-1 after 5 minutes. Big strong boy. The Bonner's turned the clock back. He's getting these wrists. I don't know where he's after getting them, but he's pulling these flicks and tricks out. However, like he's properly orchestrating things. He set up 2 goals and got one himself. They just, like Owen McIntyre, Niall McIntyre, they just have flair everywhere. And again, not being biased, I suppose, as an art man, I'd love to see him do it, because what Ken has done there, like he's properly brought in this siege mentality of, like against Clonakilty, they were very poor. And they were lucky to beat Clonakilty, but they knew themselves. They just had to get the win that day. And some days you don't need to perform, you just need to get the win. But they were frightening on Sunday, and I mean frightening. They could have won by 20 points on Sunday, but I suppose if I had to call it, I do fancy Laura. I think just the winning momentum. Thurles have surprised everyone, and fair play to them. It's a great story, and they could cause a shock on Saturday. But I just think Laura have way too much firepower up front. And again, it could come to this could be a big shootout on Saturday.
Yeah, just a final question, Johnny, before we let you go. The preliminary quarterfinals are going to stay in the All-Ireland series, which means the team, like, whether you've won or lost the final, you're going to be back into preliminary All-Ireland quarterfinals again next year. Were you surprised to see that go through or to remain?
Originally I thought that it wouldn't go through, but then as the weeks and months or as it got closer to the Congress, I believe that certain counties, valued it, and that's fair too. At least it was a democratic process, and they actually had a conversation about that. I think, to be fair, honest, like, if you lose the Joe McDonagh final, like, that's, we were in that situation last year and had to wait 3 weeks to play Tipperary. So I think the issues I have is about if you lose, like, it's very, very difficult then to pick yourself up. You actually play in the third team in Munster. Let's be fair, like, are coming through the bear pit of the hurling championship, like, which is Munster hurling, and it's quite, in my view, unfair to throw a loser from the McDonagh final into that. And the reason that that's happening is because they need to balance out the championship. Because if you just play, if it's just one winner. If it's only the winner goes through, who do they play? Do they play the winner of the third team in Munster, or do they play the third team in Leinster? So there's an imbalance there. So to fix the imbalance, they put the loser of Joe McDonagh into that. So I think that's wrong. But having said that, you do want, we said the likes of Offaly, you want the likes of Laois and all these teams to play these top tier teams. But I don't think it's the right time to play these top-tier teams. I think the league, I've said this on numerous occasions, you go back to the league and you look at the National League, what do you want the National League to be? Do you want it to help the developing counties? Do you want it to be a cutthroat competition? Or do you want the Division 1A to be to have less jeopardy? I saw there's a lot right with what's going on. I think the split season is great. I think there's a few tweaks around the timing of the Joe McDonagh. The Joe McDonagh, as I said, was very, very condensed. Like, you were playing week on week on week on week. You pick up your injuries, and then you get to the final, and then there's a 3-week break. So look, all of that has to be factored in. But look, and I get it. If you win the Joe McDonagh Cup, it's probably no harm to go on and have a cut off of a team that's coming out of Leinster or Munster. But look, it's at least it was spoke about. At least it was brought up, and in fairness, we respect the decision and we just get on with it.
Yeah, you've kind of mentioned one final thing. You've kind of mentioned some of the young lads who are doing well so far that might be picked up by the Tip under-20 management, and there's obviously a few that will graduate onto the senior ranks. Do you see Tipperary coming on and making a stronger push again next year, or is that like maybe a Tip-centric view and you're like, okay, that was a stepping stone this year, maybe get to a Munster final, for example, next year and kick on into the All-Ireland series?
Oh, I think so. Like, I mean, Liam Cahill's first year involved with Tipperary, like, the first year is always, it's 50-50 how it goes. Like, I think Liam will have learned a lot about his team, and obviously some of the individuals that he'll want back in. Like, so yeah, look, as I said, the Tip Championship has been very good. A lot of really strong players there, particularly forwards, and I think he will have learned a lot from that. Look, it's very hard to know because you saw Waterford on the last day out against Tipperary, like, who had a very defined way of playing, like, and actually Tip didn't handle that. Obviously, as I said, Tipperary came then and fired into Offaly, and a few weeks later went down against Galway, or the week later went down against Galway. So it does. There's no way to know from one year to the next. Obviously, Limerick being the standard bearers and the way they can play the game or even control the game, they'll obviously, have a target on their back and be very hard to beat again. So it's all to play for in Munster. But I think Tip, certainly have the quality within their county to have all the pieces of the jigsaw, if you like, is the way I'd say it, to put a very strong team together and push on.
Johnny, brilliant stuff as ever. Really appreciate you joining us, and we'll chat again soon, no doubt.
Okay, Shane, no problem. Talk to you soon.
Okay, brilliant. Have Johnny Kelly, Offaly manager, and of course Nina manager, and won county title with Borris not so long ago. If only that had come back again, Gary. Give us another county title for Borris.
Yeah, well, at least you've had one recently enough. Jeez, it was 2012 when we had ours. But I was going to say to him there, he was over Kiladangan in 2013. We played him in the North final the year after the county intermediate. If that's a day I could forget, Jesus, they gave us an awful. But again, Johnny, like, he kickstarted Kiladangan, the whole Kiladangan for the last 10 years. like that 2013 team. I won't go over the scoreline in that North final, but like he's a fierce wise man he is, and geez, you could listen to him all day.
Yeah, and I suppose now we've talked about the Laura against Thurles second team in the Premier Intermediate final. We'll jump on to the Intermediate final. So Golden, I think it was just by quirk of the new scoring system in terms of like not just your scoring system for all 4 teams, but the head-to-head if 3 teams finish on the same points. They've managed to get to where they are. They've gone from relegation to this.
That's it. And Liam Toohey, actually the manager, and he's actually not my fan, my father's same man. They, on the last day, they were going into that game to survive relegation. Best case scenario, come third. But they got a goal. Literally, the goal they got in injury time got them second place by 1 extra score. So it's an absolute fairy tale story. Conor Gleeson came in to help him out for round 3. And he said, once he come in, I'm not going to be involved if we play Borderland. But I don't think anyone in Golden would have thought that they would have played Borderland at any stage. Get out of the group stage was an absolute bonus territory, and everything after that. I did the semi-final against Kilsheelan, and Mark Yo got sent off for straight red card after 15-20 minutes. And Golden just drove on, and it's great to see young Jack Leamy. Like, it was my first time seeing him in the flesh this year, and by all accounts, he was having an okay year. But like when things got tough against Kilsheelan, like he really stepped up to the plate. Borlatin then against Moneygall, so Jesus, it was on the same day. It went to extra time. George Wire with a goal from just about 100 yards out, full back. I'd say he'll be pinning that to the wall when he retires. So again, another young fella that will be in the plans, I would imagine, not for Liam this year or probably next year, but he's going to be on the cusp of things over the next 2 or 3 years. A big, tall, lanky full back, strong, physical, quick. And Dara Hickey inside. Dara Hickey's about 37, 38 now, and I've spoken to him a couple of times this year. He's like a 17-year-old. He's bouncing off the ground. Himself and Seamus Lahey inside. Just snapping balls out of the clouds. I'd have to say, I'm going against the grain here. I think Golden could possibly turn them over. They have such quick, nifty forwards, and the big open space at the stadium inside of Sunday. Like, they have way more pace over the whole field than Borland. Borland probably have the better 15, but the pace that they showed against Kilsheelan, this is a good Kilsheelan team as well, who are senior footballers. They just absolutely blitzed them. So Golden Kilfeagle for me, I think will beat Borland on Sunday. But again, it's a great subplot. Like Conor Gleeson, he's probably going to be up in the stand with a cap on, a hoodie over the cap, and no one to look at him, and don't come near me. But no, it's a great subplot. And again, like Johnny said, the intermediate championship, coming into it, you 3 teams, and that was it. You Borland, Kilsheelan, and Moneygall, they were going to win it, but Golden have to come out of the pack. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, is there someone in particular that you think might go on Jack Leamy? Because we've seen him with the under-20s. Like he's well able to hurl. He's a big size of a man. So he obviously does take mine. And just before I forget to mention, I thought Dylan Fogarty, his point taken from distance, and to be fair, the 2 Moneygall wing forwards, I think it's Bob Kenny and Sean Fogarty, were very good. So it's not like they had it all their own way, but Dylan Fogarty at times just pops one up from 90 yards. He's a lovely stickman.
No, I love the stickman again, but like that day against Moneygall, it was absolute Armageddon weather. From Borland again, I think they'll be focused enough on themselves. Like Jack, in fairness, he does drift. He goes wing forward, goes in full forward, he comes in and out. So again, it's that kind of conundrum. Are you going to put, like, more than likely, like you've Martin Paul Dwyer, their centre back. Like Martin isn't going to drop out deep and pick him up. He's going to sit where he sits. Again, Dylan Fogarty actually got him on the match last day, and you're not going to put Dylan man marking anyone. He's probably the best attacking wing back in the intermediate championship. He'll pick off 2 or 3 points in play, I guarantee it. He's doing it every game. Cottle Darcy, they might sacrifice Cottle Darcy as the lamb maybe to take Jack on, but again, I think this day and age, I think we're too focused. Maybe I know you're probably going to disagree, and Johnny as a coach as well. I think the zonal marking has gotten so popular nowadays. I think you're better off keeping your shape, keeping your ground. Like if you're too focused on Jack Leamy, I think you're going to create too much more space in behind. So Martin Paul Dwyer, he's going to sit. They're not going to sacrifice Dylan. Maybe Cottle Darcy might pick him up, but I'm actually doing it again. I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward.
Yeah, it should be a cracker. Ballinhinch against Clonalty in the Junior A. Would you have seen much? I haven't.
I've seen Ballinhinch a couple of times this year, and I'm actually doing the game. I'm really looking forward to Clonalty. This is a good Clonalty junior team. But again, for Ballinhinch, they have the conundrum that they're already in the Munster Championship. So it's not a win-win situation for Ballyhinch. You want to win your county final, but they're guaranteed a Munster campaign after it. I think they obviously very disappointed getting relegated last year. They want to bounce straight back up. Again, neighbours of ours. I don't want to upset anyone up there. I think Mines and Ballyhinch people upset each other enough. I do think Clouty will have too much. They've been putting up big scores all through the year, and again, I think they'll have too much going for. I've seen them once. I've seen Clouty once this year. I've seen Ballyhinch 2 or 3 times. Very impressive Ballyhinch. Like Fair and Shane is back there, holding things wing back. Brendan Ryan's inside as well. Like they have it's a really good Junior A team. Like they're too good for Junior A. Both teams are too good for Junior A. But again, only one can go up. So I fancy Clouty by a couple of points on Saturday.
And then the only game that matters this weekend, Silvermines against Burris in the Junior A.
I was who was I talking to? I was talking to a couple of Burris lads there actually last on Sunday in Toom. I think is Liam Ryan gone in as manager for the Junior C's this year.
I'm not giving you any information.
Actually, look, we have our 25 or 26 lads talking. We'd like, in fairness, the Junior C is brilliant that they brought it back. And look, it doesn't matter who wins on Sunday, Junior C, but the Junior C is brilliant that it's back. I think we had 40 odd lads tagging out last year. Like, I remember going to a game in Clough-Jordan and just watching the subs. There were about 20 lads tagged out, and the lads knew they weren't going to get a game. But it's great camaraderie, have it back, and most clubs are taking it serious now again. But like, it's good. It's a good standard of Junior C hurling. You have a lot of young lads playing. It's not the old hackery. Back in when I was coming on the scene at 15, 16 years age, you didn't want to hurl junior. But no, by all accounts, seemingly this is a good Burst League team. So Liam Ryan seemingly has him in good condition.
Do you know what's funny? Like back in the day, if you were to play Junior A or Junior B or something like that, there's always going to be that tagline of Junior B, which is therefore it must be a joke. You know, it's just thought that way. But I played it with the Coola third team this year in Dublin. And last night with the UCD freshers, we were playing a challenge match against TUD, and there was about four lads on the pitch that I'd played with in the third team this year in Dublin, and they're good players. So you're just like, sometimes you'd be surprised with the standard of player that you'd find. There's always a few lads who are, you know, the more older, experienced lad who can still hurl, or a young lad coming through it's evident straight away this lad's a bit of talent. So it's not just the lads who are, you know, looking for a pull of a cigarette as they're walking off the pitch at half time type. There's good hurlers in there.
Yeah, like I was 16, 17 years old at this stage. I remember you're making the Junior B team, and like the Junior B team back then, that was hackery. That was the lads having their fags and all that kind of crack. Now it is standard Junior B hurling. I know in North Tipperary alone, from what I see, it's very good. It's actually very good hurling. Like it's most teams second teams. And nowadays, it's a breeding ground for your 19s, your 21s. But even Junior C, like I think that day is well and gone. I haven't seen a lad put a fag in I don't know how long. You might see it there on Instagram, or some of these lads putting a photo up there of the Junior D or Junior E football team or whatever like that. But I've been a couple of Junior C games this year. The standards, it's for Junior C, it's very good. And I think it's good that it's evolved, that it's not just, look, lads do it for a social point of view as well. But you have to take it seriously a point as well. And no, it's good standard. And I know from our own club, we have a lot of young fellas that they couldn't make the Junior B team because the Junior B team is actually decent enough. They're getting game time now, this time of year, before an under-21 campaign now as well. So like the under-21 campaign is starting this weekend. So lads after getting a couple of games in them Junior C as well. So look, it's actually an important breeding ground, and it has to stay around in as well.
Richard Hogan saying he wouldn't be surprised to see me line out for the Junior C game. I'm ineligible. I'll be playing actually for Tula on Sunday morning. Just before we go, the quick little touch on football last weekend. So you've already mentioned JKB Brackens and Upper Church, but Clonmel were, I suppose, for a lot of people, expected to walk all over Mile Rovers. But you know, maybe that was a bit naive to think that. 14 points to 11 for a finish. So Clonmel didn't have it all their own way.
No, they didn't. And I tell you, Mile Rovers again, like it's during the group stage, they were on the cusp of relegation. And so only the last day they put up, like they flew Peter Atchison home from I think Dubai to basically save him. And again, like Golden, on the last day they put up a big score to get him actually through to a knockout stage. And I thought they'd win by 10-15 points because I've seen Clonmel 3 or 4 times this year. They're all rise of football and tip. And look, they probably the game will stand to them a hell of a lot more Dan, I suppose Bracken's beating Upperchurch by a point. Like Clonmel probably needed a kick up the backside or a small bit of a scare like that. Because look, more than likely they will win the county final. I think they'll beat Brackens and go on to a Munster campaign. And I think that's the bigger picture. Like I think Ocean McConville isn't coming down just to win the county final. Like they have to go on and kick on and do something in Munster this year. Like we're talking there about Thurles or Kiladangan going on Munster club. It's a different kettle of fish in the football, and Clonmel are probably going to win the next couple of county finals as well. No disrespect to anyone else, but they'll want to do something in Munster and kick on. And I did the Brackens Upperchurch game again, really good game of football. Like they're two really good teams, and in other counties they might have a chance of kicking on and winning the county. But I just say Jack Kennedy inside full forward for Brackens. He is the best footballer I've seen in Tip this year. If he isn't in a Tip panel during the winter next year, 'tis all the one. He's an absolute class act. He got 7 points, 4 from play, 2 off his left, 2 off his right. But no, he's been a star player this year in the football championship.
Yeah, River Power says Shane Brophy out in camouflage in Thurles this morning. Who knows? Maybe he is. Look, brilliant stuff, Gary Toohey of Clubber. Enjoy the matches at the weekend, and no doubt we'll be chatting again soon.
Sound, Shane. Thanks very much. Take care.